Welcome back to DadSchooled podcast, the letter rip episode, as we call it. Yeah, there we go. I used the title you wanted. You happy?
I'm ecstatic.
Letter rip, and and with that great intro, the title is going to be "Living Without Regrets as a Dad." Letter
Same
rip.
thing.
Yeah, same thing. Okay. Hi Jimmy. How you doing today?
Hey, good.
I am Josh. This is Jimmy. This is DadSchooled podcast. We're here for you dads. All y'all dads out there. We're here for you. Even though, fun fact, Jimmy, did you know 90% of our demographic's women? who watches our podcast? I saw a stat on that.
I don't even know how you figure that sort of thing out.
There are, from the streaming settings, people who viewed our things on Facebook and whatnot. The demographic so far has been women. But someday we hope to have a large following of dads.
Yeah.
Not that we don't appreciate the women, because I think that the end goal is for them to point this show to their husbands and be like, look at this great show. You should watch it. It's probably happened already. And they're like, delete. That's okay. Enough self-deprecation this early in the morning.
That's right.
This is about lifting up dads. Okay. So actually today we're going to talk about dads asking the right questions today to avoid regrets tomorrow. Sounds simple enough. And it might be. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I mean,
our 5-minute episode, like, that we solved it.
So yeah, if any point in time we solve the problem we're talking about, we're just going to end the episode early.
Yeah.
I mean, Psalm 90, 12 verse 12 tells us, "Teach us to number our days, so we may get a heart of wisdom." Okay, and I think Moses is trying to tell us right there that our days are short. They're numbered. They're not forever. I think just watching the world today, we kind of know that. We have a sense of mortality. It's ever present because people are always killing people, and it's no fun. You know, if they're not killing people, then some childhood entertainment star that you used to look up to has died or gone off the deep end. So it's an ever reminding cycle of we're gonna die. What are we going to do with ourselves when we die? Like, do you know God? Do you not know God? You know, that's important to know. And in the end, does it matter if you had that Harley Davidson in your garage? If you had that speedboat in your yard? If you store speedboats in people store speedboats in yards?
Yeah, put it somewhere.
Okay, yeah. If you have that speedboat in your yard, if you have all those items on your life checklist checked off, or if you look back at your life checklist and it's blank. Ooh, what happens then? What if you didn't achieve everything? I guess that's a good question. Achieving things that you want to achieve versus achieving the things that are really important. Like being a dad, being a good dad, being there for your family. So join us as we spiral down this amazing topic.
I mean, you already brought up the idea of wisdom. And I mean, that's something that I feel like gets not the attention it deserves so often. I mean, I'm one of those guys that I'm very full of the useless variety of knowledge. I do
uselessness.
Like, I'm really good at trivia nights and that sort of stuff. Okay. I collect knowledge. But then wisdom is something different. Wisdom is how it's applied, how it's lived out. And that takes more intentionality, more thought, and careful consideration when making a decision and that sort of stuff. And, you know, that's something I think us as dads absolutely could take that time, take that moment to be giving careful consideration to any decision that comes our way. And that's where wisdom happens in our daily life, in the way that we're interacting with our kids, with our spouses, how we're spending our money, putting speedboats in the yard. It seems like a frivolous expense. I don't know
should
why people would
definitely
put
buy a
your yard.
speedboat for your yard. I wish I had a speedboat in my yard.
Probably not a lot of wisdom in that decision.
My HOA would not like that. I don't think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so along that same line, like, ask yourself as a dad, this is you asking yourself something. Dad, am I being a man of God? I messed that up.
One more time.
Dad, am I being the man God called me to be? Am I leading my family well? You ever ask yourself that, Jimmy? Do you refer yourself as dad?
I don't know what I refer to myself as in the third person one.
Do you say, Jimmy, do this, Jimmy, do that? Or you're like, dang it, Jimmy?
I think I sound like a hippie surfer dude. I'm like, hey man. I think that's my internal dialogue. If I
Yeah,
really
I never
think
thought about
about
that. What do I call myself?
it. Yeah. Or dude, come on.
Dude, yeah. Come on, idiot.
I think that one gets thrown around a lot in my head.
Okay. But all that aside, are you being a godly man? Are you leading your family the way you should? 2 Corinthians verse 13 tells us, examine yourself, see whether you are in the faith, test yourself. Paul wasn't telling believers to doubt their salvation, but to take stock in whether their lives are showing evidence that they are following Christ. As a dad, I look at my life and, do my kids see Jesus in my daily interactions? Are you braiding the cords and flipping the tables on a daily basis with the kids? Or are you being a pushover? Let's just call it out. Are you going whatever and going with the argument or going with whatever society or is happening in your life because you don't want to create sparks. You don't want to get involved. You don't want to create friction. Have you given up? Is talking with your kids a chore more than it used to be? It's a possibility. But now is the time because, like we just talked about, life is short in a nutshell. And tomorrow might be my dad actually used this on my sister and I on we fought a lot like growing up, but in a good way. It wasn't a bad way. We were good. We were close. My sister and I, we still are. She's still here. Don't worry. But my dad would always use, whenever we were in the middle of fighting, look at your sister, Josh. What happens if she dies tomorrow? And that's the last thing you said to her. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Katie. And then he did the same thing to her. And look at him. If he died tomorrow, that's the last thing you said to him. That's the last thing you did. How would you feel? And my sister was like, it would feel terrible. So yeah, it's a good reminder. My dad had the right idea raising us up to always think about never leaving an argument. I probably could learn to argue better, argue with a cooler head, but I always have the sense of wanting to solve the problem. I don't like walking away from arguments. Like when I'm really super hot, yeah, I do. But I like to come back really fast. I like to solve it. I like to let it linger. And in the same spirit with being a dad, I constantly am reminded that life is short. And am I doing what I should be doing? Am I going to regret what I'm not doing tomorrow? And that's, I'm people who know me and know what I do at home, and mainly my family would know that. They might hear this and be like, Dad, we don't do that much together. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's the problem. We need to do more. Like we need to do more opening the Bible together as a family. We need to do more. Last night we sat down and played Scrabble after dinner. And in the beginning, it was like, there's several stages of grief when playing Scrabble with me.
Oh my.
So the first one.
No good at Scrabble.
Yeah, exactly. So we sit down and it was like, I have other things I want to do. I don't want to take time to stop and do something else. My wife had the same kind of look on her face. She had lots of things she's trying to get done, wrapped up for videos or school starting this week. She has to plan everything out over the weekend. And she didn't have to. She just chooses to because she's an awesome mom. Points for Dad. But you sit down and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, and then you start playing, and it's like, okay, this is fun. We're having a good time. I had one of my daughters with us, and my older son, and my wife, and myself, because it's only a 4-player game. We're teaching. I don't think the other two have ever played this game, so we're teaching them, and we're playing. And I come to figure out real fast why I never played this game, because I'm not the greatest speller or creative thinker in words, and my wife is amazing. Like, I'm putting down words like as, but,
Yeah. Cat, dog,
fart,
yeah,
poo, pee. And then she's like putting down longer words, like getting the 60 something. I don't even know what word she was using. Like getting 60 something points a word. And everyone's like, ooh, ah. In the end, I got like, I don't know, maybe mid 50 score. It was terrible. And then
yeah.
she got like almost 200. And my son, my older son, luckily follows after his mom more in this regard. And he was, over 100. So it was a long story short. I'm glad we sat down and we played that game, but it was rough to get started for me. And it's a good memory that I know that I just made with the kids. My kids now, with some of my kids who are there, know that we played Scrabble, and it's not going to be like my dad didn't want to sit down with me after dinner. Which has been lately the theme in my house is I'm trying to wrap up some side projects, and it's just every time my youngest comes down to me and, Dad, can you play? Dad, can you play? And I'm like getting frustrated at him, and I know that I should spend 5-10 minutes with him and play something. He wants to play a game, so a video game with me. I should just do it, but I feel this looming deadline by the end of this month to get something done. So it's like weighing on me that I should be a better dad, but I'm also trying to like not be selfish or model hard work. Possibly might be the answer. I'm trying to get something done. I don't know. So that's my disjointed self-reflection on, am I being the man God called me to be?
I mean, it makes me think of just any of those, 12-step programs or 7. I don't know how many steps these programs have these days. I feel like it's always getting more and more. But step 1 seems like it's always, in order to solve your problem, first you have to admit that you have a problem. So, that's, I think, where we're wanting to be today in these kinds of the content that we're looking at is let's just take some intentional, honest self-reflection, and let's take stock, take inventory of where we are in our lives. Let's be honest as men, as dads. Um, Step back and if you can look at yourself from another vantage point. That is a challenge in and of itself, where so often I feel like I've got blinders on to just how I actually am, how I actually interact with other people, and here everything makes perfect logical sense, but then once it comes out, then it's a garbled mess. But how do I take stock? How do I take inventory of where am I genuinely? Okay, so now I've got a good grasp, and asking other men in your life, other people you look up to, for feedback. Asking your spouse for feedback if you have hopefully the type of communication where you guys can be honest and open without it turning into, turn it into a scorekeeping. Well, you said that about me. Well, I'm gonna tell you about you. If you can do it honestly without it turning into throwing barbs back and forth, that's a great place to start to take inventory of just who you are, where you're at, where are your strengths, where are your shortcomings, your opportunities for improvement. That's where we got to start.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know how this fits into what you were just saying or what we're talking about in general, but it just popped in my mind. Like, over the past couple of weeks, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Actually, like, I keep on repeating this over and over in my head, and I think it's just as a reminder for myself to stay on my toes and not become complacent. What's been in my mind is, I'm gonna probably get this wrong the first time I try it. Godly men or no, it's strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men create hard times, and hard times create strong men.
You nailed it.
I nailed it the first try. Whew,
You
that's
did.
hard because I keep a mess up in my head when I'm trying to go around. But that always reminds me, like, if I become complacent in what I'm doing, and I'm not always challenging things around me that are out of order, um, I might fall into that loop. I might be a contributing factor to creating a weak generation of kids. And that's like one of my biggest fears is like I'm on my deathbed or I'm like in my chair drooling out the side of my mouth watching Star Wars reruns 24/7, which sounds amazing. But watching my kids go out and make the world terrible. That's a fear of mine. Is
Yeah.
my kids not being strong people because I failed as a dad. And I know there's some people out there be like, you can't control how your kids end up. No, I can't. But you know what? I can shape their core pretty effectively as a parent. There's been some troubling videos out there of parents who have their kids reciting lists of people who they wish would die. Now, have you seen that lately or not? But I mean, that comes from the house. Like they were 8 and 5-year-olds, or they're young, and that was young enough that they're spewing back whatever the parents are saying.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I saying to my kids? You know, like I remember my dad, he had a thing against foreign cars. Okay, growing up, he had the oddest thing against foreign cars. I think it came from his generation of living through like Vietnam. It was he came, you know, he was born in 1949. My dad was born in 1949, so he was at the tail end of World War II. Okay, World War II was over. The Cold War was about ramping up, you know, later on. And he went through all those, like Korea, you know, all those different things over there. He has some prejudice in his heart against, I think, foreign countries and their materials. And he saw manufacturing jobs. His dad worked for GM, and on the assembly line. He watched the manufacturing jobs leave. He watched people getting laid off, and he saw all that stuff. So his generation has something different in their heart. And now, obviously, like not everyone's the same, but my dad and how he grew up and what he was preached to from his internal family. You know, his dad worked at GM. Obviously, he had things to say against foreign car manufacturers, right? My dad, you know, very strong supporter of Chevy Corvettes and Jeeps. He loves those exclusively. So when I grew up, my first car was a Jeep. I idolize Corvettes. I think Corvettes are great. Now, it took me a long time to realize that there are a lot of other cars out there you should respect because they have the power, they have better performing, you know, stats. But I still have a special place in my heart for Corvettes, and that comes from my dad. You know, I know my dad loved airplanes and boats and like warships and war things. I loved studying that stuff too. I found it fascinating. I still do, but I truly have a sense of like, I look at a biplane in the air flying at an air show. I always remember my dad because he loved biplanes. It's things like that. Like he taught me how to think and what to think and what he liked. And I either held on to that or eventually made my own decisions. Okay. So our kids are the same way. You know, there's certain games that I play, or I would always tell my kids I love playing. And initially they'll be like, yeah, let's play that. And they're all about that. And then they play it and then they make their own decisions. And I see that. But that initial, like, yeah, if you're not careful, you can lead your kids down the wrong path. A lot of your choices and decisions and telling people what you think about things. Because your kids are listening to you. You got to be careful. Yeah. So that'd be a large parenting regret if I spewed the wrong information to my kids about my bias on something that I might not be completely informed on, but I have a strong opinion, and my kids hear me saying that all the time. That's like a big regret I have if I'm sitting there, like I said, in my vegetable state, watching my kids burn the world because I was an idiot and couldn't teach them correctly. So,
yeah,
I guess that's a driving factor for why I do what I do sometimes.
Oh, and there's the deliberate open layer of what we're teaching our kids, where we do an actual, you know, sit down, kid, let dad learn you something. You know, there's that direct method of teaching. But then there's all of the subconscious everything that kids just soak up like sponges. I mean, I look at pictures of me and my dad standing together now, and I'm like, I stand just like him. Like it's all these all these things that without trying, without thinking, he taught me how to stand, like the posture that I have, and that's just
what's unique about this? Are you like rolled forward like caveman style? What are you talking about?
I don't know. Just you just have to see a picture. I don't know. Okay. I'll see if I can find a good one for you sometime.
I need you to send a picture to me later.
But it's just that's the sort of stuff that goes on in the daily life. Our kids spend so much time with us. Hopefully, we're spending so much time around each other. They can't help but just soak up some of our just who we are, and we pass that on. So being mindful of what that sort of stuff is, like you're talking about, where you see the families online, the way that their kids are showing either respect or lack of respect towards their parents. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So much of that is a learned behavior, and it's not, the parent did not sit their child down and say, when I speak to you, this is how I would like for you to speak back. That wasn't like a direct lesson that was given, but it was a lesson that was given. And that's a huge reminder for me.
I will interject in there. I'll say, you just remind me of something else. Like I on a weekly basis, I help with our church and our youth program. So my wife and I, we split up like 5th and 6th graders, and we help us do like Bible lessons and small groups with them. Interacting with kids of that age, 5th and 6th graders, has taught me something about people's households, because I think 5th and 6th graders are at the age where they're just now starting to pick up their friends around them, all of their little nuances and like culture, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Even though I'd say a large percentage of the kids that we deal with in our church, our church has an academy attached to it. So a large percentage of the kids are in that academy. So in a Christian academy setting, you'd be surprised the behavior they still have. And be mindful, they're still kids. I get that. They're like, what, 11, 10-year-old kids-ish age range?
Yeah, something like that.
But it's still, you can still definitely see a lot of different parenting styles coming through. You see the kids that are quiet and reserved, and they are more respectful, and they're kind of in shock looking around at other people are acting. Yeah. Then you see the kids who are very outgoing, very dare I say obnoxious with how they interact with other people. Like they're just like flailing wildly, doing all sorts of like high energy things that kids do, but in a disrespectful manner. Like we have a time when we come together in our small groups and we're supposed to talk about the lesson. You have certain people, certain kids in the group who just can't do that. They don't know the proper etiquette that teacher or instructor in the classroom, you listen to them. Like that has gone by the wayside. Like when I was in school, I remember this, like our class, the teacher would say, settle down, and the class settled down. I was in public school, in the public school system here. But like I remember distinctly our class would settle down and do what the teacher said we do. Yeah, there's a little bit of rowdiness, and my report card always said talks too much on it. I get that. But there is a sense of like respect for the leadership at that point. And it's going away nowadays. And you see that. You see different like kids responding with, different spouting off different things they like to do or that their parents say. And you see that mirror reflection from the parents through the kids all the time. So anyways, that whole rant to say, like, be present in your kids' lives and be present in the right way. Make sure you're pouring the correct things into your kids' lives. You were mentioning like video games and playing games and other things for a second there, I think. And that got me thinking also, just because your kid likes playing video games, and this is coming from a video game person myself. So parents who are not electronics or not technologically savvy, listen up. This is for you. Okay. People who are kind of understand what I'm saying, but people who don't understand the kids in technology nowadays and going off and they feel like they're just loose cannons. It is your responsibility to be involved in their lives. That includes their video games. And there are a lot of video games out there that aren't good for your kids. And you got to be educated enough to know what they're playing and what content's in there. And if it means you have to research a bit to figure out how to block something, then you need to do that. Your kids rely on you for guidance on how their character is shaped. And by just letting them run the internet free, roam their phones free, you're doing them a gigantic disservice. And you're contributing to the possibility of them going down the wrong path in their lives. It's pretty. You got it.
I think a piece of that even is not just so much. I mean, the debate around video game violence was raging when we were growing up, in the 90s and whatnot. But today it's there's a whole nother layer that's not just the content of the game itself, but are your kids plugged into community online?
Yes.
Who are they talking to? Who's pouring into them when no one else is around? They've got their earphones on. You don't know what conversations they're having, what sort of life lessons they're picking up. This is how I deal with stressful situations. These are the words that I use when someone offends me. When I'm stressed out, this is how I take action on that. Those are the lessons that are being taught to them by someone that doesn't have their best interest, that doesn't know them, is never going to see them in person. So it doesn't matter to them if this kid, learns the way I'm going to interact with others is by just going off the handle and coming off the hinges and just going nuts on those around me. But that's how you excel in the video game world.
Which it's not, but that's what the perception is.
Yeah, but I'm just, who is pouring into your kids? If it's not
right.
you, it's somebody.
And you might be thinking, oh, my kid has a cell phone and they seem like a decent kid. I think they can handle, something.
And all their friends have one.
Exactly. And that's, there's probably a whole episode we can do on a lot of these topics.
Yeah.
But I guess the important part of it is, as a dad, you're present in your kids' lives. And that doesn't end when they get on electronics. You have to be present in their lives always. In my household, we have a rule. My son does have a cell phone. My oldest son does have a cell phone, but it's a Wise phone. So it is completely stripped down, restricted. There's no games on it. There's no social media on it. It's used for emergency calls. The thing he uses it for the most right now is Spotify. And he has a Spotify account. I believe it might be on our family account, but regardless, I have Bark monitoring software on the phone. Every single song he listens to is Christian based. I know that for a fact. I know his playlists. I have access to seeing his phone anytime I want. It's not it's my phone, my property. No, it's you're under my roof as an 18-year-old up until you're 18. Anything in your possession, I can look at it in any shape, any time I want, because I'm the parent and it's my job to protect you. Mm-hmm. So you can't get in the mentality of I'm giving them their space, their privacy, because like you said, Jimmy, like, what are they doing behind closed doors? Who are they talking to? It's not being a paranoid parent. It's doing your job. And so back to what I was saying. My kids can't have their phone in their room. They can't have electronics in their room. There's no TV in their room. And that's intentional. Like, we don't want them doing things in private, because people go to private places to do things they don't want to be seen doing. That's the whole point of privacy. I myself find myself going someplace separate from my family when I want to do something I know is wrong. So that's why you don't put yourself in that situation. Therefore, all my kids, we're homeschooled. We have computers for them to do their schoolwork, because some of their lessons are online, some are not. All their computers are in a very open area. We converted our dining room into computers lining the wall with their back to the center, so we can walk in the room, walk by the room, and see all their screens at the same time. No one's hidden. It's not a secretive thing. They're not allowed to, be on our computers or a laptop or someplace separate from that room. It's just not allowed. And by putting everything public like that, you get rid of a lot of the issues. And in games, if they're all playing games together, playing Minecraft or whatever they're playing, and they start yelling at each other or speaking how they shouldn't, It's in an open area that my wife and I can easily address. We can stop them, say, hey, that's not how we talk to each other. It's very helpful for us because we can address her right then and there. Like, we model to our kids, Dad's a gamer. He loves playing games. We can't play games anymore if you're going to talk like this. This is a rule in our house. You can't treat people like this. It's not how you act as a gamer. And that's how I've always approached the situation. Now, if you're a parent or if you're a dad out there who's past that and your kid's already screaming and you're like, no, now what? It's not an easy solution to that. It's not going to be a fun conversation, but you have to make your kid understand why you're doing what you're doing. And you can put rules in place at any time you want because you are the parent. And your kid, unfortunately, if they don't agree with that and they disagree and you have an argument, then the argument has to happen. But make sure it's in a respectful way. It's a conversation you can have with your kid saying, hey, I care about you. I know you're a good kid, but it's my job to make sure that you are not harmed in ways that you don't know you can be harmed yet. And this is a way. So be intentional about being, and that's sorry, it's a big soapbox, but it's a very strong point in my mind, because a lot of times when things go wrong in this world, everyone wants to point to online. And I'm not disagreeing online's terrible. I agree completely that you can go to the wrong places very easily. But everyone wants to point to video game violence. Like you said, in our childhood, it was those video games are violent and they're going to make your kids brain rot. It's like, you know what? To a level, maybe. Okay, if not monitored correctly, if the morals that you pour into the kid are go play this game for hours on end and never interact with anybody else in the world, yeah, you're probably gonna have a messed up kid. But then we look at the TV violence, and it's like, okay, let's get rid of video games and not have them play video games because they're too violent. But then let's go watch all the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all of that, like the violence in there, even though it might not be blood, gut, and gore like we grew up with in Alien or whatever movies, it's still not like the message. I know you have some strong opinions on this, Jimmy.
Yeah.
But it's not the message as a father or as a leading member of your household that you should have to. I don't know. I'm losing my string here. Pick up, Jimmy. Pick up.
All good. I mean, all of it. I think it just comes down to. I think I've kind of used the analogy before, but it's like baking a recipe, making cookies or cake or something.
Brownies.
Yes. There you go. We'll land on brownies. Whatever you put in the mixing bowl determines what comes out in the end. And so it's going to be a raging debate, I think, ongoing and always. And what exposure your kids have to video game violence or movie violence, TV violence, any of that, that's just another ingredient in the cake. But then from my vantage point and bringing up, kind of circling back to the point I was having later, is if you're they're plugged in online and having secret conversations, those are ingredients you don't know that are even being snuck into the recipe.
Right.
And so
spit you don't want.
being mindful of anything that is being put into your kid's mind, their formation, as a parent, you are parent first, friend later. But so many parents are like, well, that's why I had kids. I just wanted more friends. I mean, like, and I'm just their buddy, and I give them whatever they want or give in to whatever they want. And that's to the detriment of their future, unfortunately.
And our society.
And the entire society.
All
those people with speedboats in the yard.
Oh my gosh. Can't stand them. So, all that being said, even if you are in the midst of your kids doing all the things that we just listed out they shouldn't be doing, there are ways that you can get back from that. And you know, if you need help, feel free to drop us a line. DadSchoolPodcast.com. At the very bottom, we have a contact form. Fill it out. Tell us what's going on in your lives, and get some like-minded assistance. Jimmy and I will love to read what you put down and think about it for hours on end and respond with quality advice from our point of view. It might not be what you want to do, but we'll tell you what we think you should do.
Yeah.
That's the point. Speaking of that, you know what? I did get a reply back on our question from last week, Jimmy.
Oh, good.
I got someone who challenged my statement of There's nothing in this world that you put bad in and get good out.
Okay. And what
This
was their
highly intelligent person who is not my wife, she's not, honestly, she's not my wife. They reply back, the church. So yes, you might be able to have a bad person go into the church and come out a better person. Yes, that might be the only example of what that is. And then someone else said a washing machine. So I think you're not getting the concept I'm trying to create here with my conversation, but
Yeah.
I give you high points for beating my statement. So,
Well, and I'll push back even a tiny bit. Is it the church that does the transformation in that person's life, or is it someone or something at a different level,
a higher plane, if you will.
a higher existence?
Yeah. So in that sense, it's not something you're putting in; it's someone else.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so Jimmy, we are experts in our own lives only, right? We can probably say that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So expert.
I'm an expert in my life. Jimmy is an expert in his life, and our advice comes with that caveat. So, with that being said, what's some daily practices, Jimmy, that you can do to avoid regrets?
Oh goodness. Choosing each day to live with intentionality. I feel like my default setting that I just slide into is just passivity, just going into a routine or a rut, if you will, and just like each day comes, each day goes, and not taking intentional, thoughtful action and choices.
Mm-hmm.
So waking up each morning and deciding I'm going to make the most of this day. I'm going to find ways to challenge myself, to grow myself, to better my relationships, better my own intellect. That's a matter of will. And I'm not the best at it, but I am trying to start my days in that way.
Now, what kind of self-evaluation do you do to catch that kind of stuff? Like, do you have a Huh. Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's about it. That's great, Jimmy. Thanks. Contributions from that side of this.
No, you have to quiet yourself and not have distractions. It was something that I tried to do a long time ago. I was realizing I always had my iPod with me. This tells you how long ago this was, but I always had music in my ear or whatever I was doing. I just always had something playing in the background, and realizing, I think what I went through back then was, it's like I didn't like silence. And what was it about silence that bothered me? So trying to keep that incorporated in my life, and it's gone through ebbs and flows. But that's what I've learned about myself. Like I have to have a quiet moment without other distraction, without other voices, without other sounds, just quiet and nothing else going on. And then I can stop and actually think and take assessment of what's going on, because I'm too easily distracted.
We call it squirrel syndrome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So a practical tip from this expert of myself, who definitely needs to do more of this, is opening the Word on a daily basis. Now, the ideal time is 6 hours in the morning and then 6 hours at night.
Yeah.
That's the ideal time to be in the Word. But if you can't be in the Word 6 hours in the morning and 6 hours in the night, you can probably find other ways to do that. So there's some podcasts I listen to, DadSchooled podcast for we're not entirely shoving sermons down your throat constantly. So it may be not us as a source for your Bible, but through the Word, TTW, through the Word, TTW. Yeah, it's on the Bible app on my phone. But you can look up Bible plans and pick books to the Bible, and it goes through an expository preaching style, reading the scripture, explaining it, giving you background history. It's great. It's good for a quick deep dive on the way to work. I used to listen to it all the time when I was driving into the office before this became my office here. That's a problem because I used to get that on a daily basis driving to the office, and now I don't. I used to listen to books on the way home from my favorite authors who aren't Christians, which is another problem I had at the time. And then I'd listen to podcasts of Bibles on the way to work. It was always encouraging in the morning. In the morning here in my office, I don't do that, and I think I need to start doing that again. That's this week's challenge to myself. I'm gonna start picking up that again. Unfortunately, I can't do it through a website. You gotta do it through your phone. So you gotta pull the phone up and go through your phone only on the Bible app. Yeah. So I'm gonna start doing that. That's my pledge this week. What's your pledges out there? Jimmy, maybe what's your pledge to be in the Word more this week? Let's hear it on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just picking that time, finding that opportunity in the moment. If it's setting your alarm clock an extra 10 minutes early and not snoozing it, that extra 10 minutes, then that's a start.
You need to have someone next to your bed when you reach over to snooze that, and they're like, "You wouldn't snooze Jesus, would you?"
That could work. Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin style, next to your bed yelling at you.
Yeah.
Don't snooze Jesus.
Smacking you in the back with a folding chair. That'd get you awake.
Yes. Man, we could sell this. No. So be in the Word. Definitely, I think the answer to any of these problems we brought up is first, I don't like the whole pray about every single little thing in your life notion. That bothers me to a sense. Like, God gave us brains to make our own decisions, and good or bad, we have to weigh those decisions against God's character and God's nature. And if we go outside of that, that's when we're making bad choices. But it's our job to understand God's nature and God's morals and what God's about. And we do that by being in the Word, being in the Bible, surrounding ourselves with biblical people and biblical, mindsets, have a worldly view based in Christianity, a Christian worldview. I mean, If you do all that, then you don't have to pray before you have a donut. God, should I have this donut? The answer is always no. If you're praying for something, the answer should always be no, because you shouldn't be doing something. That's how I usually gauge things. Like, if I stop myself and I'm like, I know I shouldn't do this, I'm going to pray about it in hopes that maybe that golden light comes down saying, yes, eat this donut, or yes, do this. The fact of the matter is that doesn't happen. Like, you're not going to get the sign from God saying eat a donut. Make a good choice based on your own knowledge of what you should be doing. Man, I'm just going off the deep end. What was that? You got a motorcycle over there?
Someone's heading to work. My neighbor's heading to work.
That's funny.
Sorry about that, everybody.
How was your wife heading to work on her Harley?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She had to move the boat from the front yard before she left.
Yeah, I left it in the way again.
All right. So all that being said, get in the Word more. Man, we gotta wrap this up, Jimmy. We're going long. Sorry. So just real quick, I want to touch on this. It starts now, and we kind of saying that, be present, be mindful, watch what your kids are doing, be in your kids' lives. It's a theme we've always been talking about since we started this podcast. Always be present. But when do you start, Jimmy? When's the best time to start anything that you should have been already doing?
Right this moment. So
moment.
I'll see you.
Yeah. Be present. Yeah. So it's not built on like legacy that you are creating for yourself and for your family and for your kids. Is not built on yesterday's and what we could have done. It's built on nows, on what you're going to do. It's not even built on what you're going to do. It's built on what you do, basically. So you need to make sure you are walking through the day, intentionally doing what you should be doing. And it's a mindset, and it's hard to do. And, for me, like, if it means picking the Bible up after dinner and pushing past that mental block I have of opening the Word with my family after dinner and reading a passage, I need to get into that. I did it a couple times, and it felt super awkward. And that mainly was me because I didn't prepare myself before I did that. I just kind of was trying to force it. I need to figure out a way to make that more natural for myself. So like that's my thing I'm gonna do. I know our schedules are hectic too, and our days are less and less of sitting down as a family. It's more and more rushing out the door to go to practices or do something. But I need to find a way to be more intentional about that. And that's also my takeaway this week is I'm gonna start doing that. So we'll circle back next week and see if I succeed or not.
Yeah.
But having a plan, having a direction, and being intentional about it is something we need to do as dads. We can't just look back and feel bad for what we didn't do. We need to have a plan for what we can do, and we can execute it.
I mean, and the idea of a legacy, when we flip through, like an overview history book, it almost gives the impression that people with lasting legacies had like a moment of their life. They made a decision, and now they're remembered forever because of a singular moment or a singular phrase or something that happened. And while that can be the case for a good handful of historical figures, their legacy can be distilled into a small moment or small period of time. All of us still leave a legacy. And for most of us, it's not distilled into a singular period of time, but it's that daily rhythm, that daily exposure that we have with our family. And we do leave a legacy. We get to choose how that, what direction that goes. So, now's a good time to start if you haven't given that.
Start your legacy today.
Well, start giving it intentional thought.
Start giving your intentional thought legacy today.
There you go.
Okay. So this week, ask yourself, did I listen to my kids more than I talked? Did I hear what they're saying? Did I interact with them? Or did I just shoo them away? Ask yourself that. Did I prioritize my family over my work and distractions this week? Jimmy, did you prioritize your family over your work this week? Ask yourself that. Not now. No, not now. Later. Ask yourself later.
Oh.
Did I move the speedboat from the front yard? Ask yourself that.
Yeah.
In every interaction I had, whether it is in front of my family or in front of coworkers or in front of nobody, if it's just in front of yourself, did you model a Christ-like love and humility in everything you do? That's a great self-reflection takeaway question for yourself this week. Every moment of the week, am I acting how I should act? Ask yourself that. And make sure, we've mentioned this before, and I said I need to do this myself more. Take 15 minutes, set aside with your kid. If you have 10 kids, that's going to be a lot of time per kid. But per kid, take 15 minutes and spend time with them. Have dad time. Do something with them. You don't have to spend money to do this. You don't have to go out and do something. You can just sit with them and do what they want to do because they remember your efforts to do that. I remember my dad stopping his busy schedule and going out and playing catch with me in the backyard. I was terrible at sports, but he threw a ball back and forth with me, and I remember that. That was fun. I never played baseball professionally. I was terrible. I never even made a team ever. But I remember throwing a baseball in the backyard with my dad. As funny as that sounds, but it was an enjoyable experience, and it is something that I think is important that us as dads do something with our kids, whether it's definitely not going to be something we want to do. Guarantee you're not going to want to do it, but you got to do it, and don't make a big deal about like, oh, this again, or I hate doing this. Just do it and enjoy your kids' enjoyment. Watch their faces when you start doing something with them like this, because you'll be encouraged by it.
Yep.
What else? What am I missing, Jimmy? Anything else?
You got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you like this content, even if you don't like this content, you should definitely like and subscribe and share all of your stories with us. DadSchoolPodcast.com, or hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on YouTube, wherever you find us. We're on Spotify, Apple iPad, however Apple crap works. We're on Apple. Find us, send messages, send us a thumbs up. If you don't like what we're doing, message us as well. I love hearing negative comment as much as positive comment. I will promptly delete it if it's terrible comments. But if it's constructive comments, I'll take it to my heart and then take it to Jimmy's heart, and then we'll both throw it away. But really, we appreciate feedback, positive, negative. like, subscribe, share. Closing thoughts, Jimmy, before I pull the plug. He's like, please end it.
No, I'm in a haze today. I apologize.
You're hazy. That's fine. So hazy Jimmy is signing off. Josh is signing off. We'll see you next week. Be intentional. Be there for your kids. Have a good day.